So first they're going to have like a little conversation that you can listen to, and at the end you can have some questions if you have any. Okay? So let's start.
Yeah.
Hi guys. She talks very low. Hi guys. So yes, I'm Nicki 007. I'm just going to do like a short introduction about me before I move on. I've been in ballroom since 2011-ish. I'm originally from Sweden. My dad is Hungarian though, so that's why I live here now. I used to live in New York for like 2 years, where I found ballroom in Sweden. And back then we didn't have any balls, we didn't have any functions. We had a hip hop event where they let us do a little hour of voguing, and literally the battles were 5 minutes long. Today they're 30 seconds. And we didn't have a ball, we just had like, okay, we can do voguing, and then you would mix Vogue Femme, old way, new way, however you want it. So I'm from that era. And yes, I will be the little moderator today, so I will be asking Amani all of the questions, and we will just go back and forth. Yes, so Amani Laveaux, Kiki.
Princess Laveaux.
Princess.
No kidding.
I'm like, we're not kidding. Right? If it's princess, it's princess. So, yeah, maybe like if you just start to introduce yourself a little bit, tell us who you are, how you started in ballroom, and what categories you rock.
Is this gonna go around? Yeah, it will.
Yeah.
Hi. Thank you for having me. My name, sorry. I'm Amani, known as UK Princess Amani Laveaux. I'm from the London ballroom scene. I found ballroom, I found ballroom through nightlife, actually through clubbing, and just being bored in London in 2018. I'm sure, I don't know if some of you know his name, but JJ Revlon, who's a big figure in the UK ballroom scene, at the time was throwing a lot of club nights that were like sort of ballroom orientated. He would have like ballroom DJs. It wasn't a ball, but the girls would cut up in Vogue. I just one day like happened to go to one of those nights and started battling the girls, not knowing what the fuck I was doing. And then they were like, you have something, not the elements, but you have something. And then I attended workshops and classes and kind of found my way like into walking like that. My first category, I'm still in my category, is Vogue Femme, female figure performance, more specifically. What other things can I say? I'm a 007 in the major scene, but I've been a Revlon, I've been an L. But yeah.
And what does it mean to be a 007?
What does it mean to be a 007? It means you can do whatever the fuck you want. To be quite blunt, no, it means you're a free agent. It means that you're not in a house. Technically, everyone is a 007 when they first start in ballroom. Yeah, that's what it means.
And could you give us like a short history on ballroom, like where it started, like just short history of it all.
So I feel like with a lot of Black history, which that's what ballroom is, with a lot of Black history and a lot of queer history, it gets erased, and there's a lot of different versions of the origins of ballroom or the origins of Vogue Femme. I know like 5 different versions of like how voguing was created, you know? I don't know if you guys heard the myth of like, oh, it was actually created at Rikers Island and stuff like that. There's like so many different versions. But what I know, what I've been told about ballroom is that it was created and born as a reaction to the racism that Crystal LaBeija was facing in drag culture and in drag pageants. So she would often compete in these drag pageants in New York and would be like either one or one of the only drag queens of color, and she would always lose to women that, to put it politely, weren't as polished as her. weren't as fab as her. And I think her only reaction to that was to create her own competition, was to create her own culture where she could be celebrated, people like her could be celebrated. And now we have ballroom because of that. I'd really recommend this documentary called The Queen. It's on Netflix. You literally see the birth of ballroom in this clip. It's a clip that gets heavily quoted. Anyway, I'm not here to promote the documentary, but you should watch it. What else can I say about ballroom and how it was created? I think an important part to be aware of when you think about the origins of ballroom is that it was created in the 60s, specifically in New York, and on the street where Martin Luther King was assassinated, which is a hidden fact when we think about, if you are familiar with Crystal Laveaux and if you are familiar with the clip where she essentially storms out of the pageant because she loses again, and she has like this big monologue or this big rant where she talks about like, I am beautiful and I have a right to show my color, and blah, blah, blah. She says all these iconic lines which sound like fab and fierce and funny at times, but there's the anger in what she's saying is so connected to the civil rights era in the 60s and to the assassination of Martin Luther King. Whoa, that's really deep, but it's true.
Perfect. I mean, everything you said correctly. I just also want to add that when we talk about ballroom, there is like different how you identify ballroom. So for example, what we said about like the Rikers Island. Rikers Island is a prison in New York. And also like going to the 60s, and then if you like ballroom, like the culture ballroom in a sense, has existed since like way before 1920s, where drag queens and for example, would have balls where they compete, you know, similar to like Miss Universe and like beauty pageants. All of this have existed for like 100 years. But when we say ballroom here, it's very often that we refer to like, oh, the balls that have the voguing part. And voguing came way later. So the ballroom culture has existed for over 100 years. The voguing has not existed for 100 years, but like Amani said, it started with like Crystal Laveaux, like being this like snowball effect of being treated so badly at these balls that was only drag balls, beauty pageants, and she was like, well, fuck y'all don't like me, I'm gonna do it myself. They started doing it, then was created also like the house culture where they were like, well, we're gonna call ourselves something as a gang together, which then grew into like, okay, everybody that is my loved ones, we're gonna call ourselves one name. And when we battle, just like any drag queen, they have a name. And a lot of drag queens, even if they are not in the ballroom scene, they have kids and they have the same names. We see it on RuPaul's Drag Race. Someone comes the season after, they have the same last name as someone else because they belong to that. So the ballroom culture has existed for a long time when it comes to drag and trans. And then, so for me, like, the Rikers Island is not necessarily a myth, it's just how you define ballroom if you're looking at when was voguing created and when was ballroom created.
Right.
Because if you look at, because like she said, Queen, the documentary, it's on YouTube, amazing to watch, you should all watch it. There's also, which most of us know, Paris is Burning, and Paris comes from the person in the documentary called Paris, it's their ball. And Paris was known to have been on Rikers Island and been on one of the first people that back then. So this, I'm gonna say like my old description of like ballroom, what I learned 15 years ago, is that like back
the Old
then,
Testament.
Yeah, exactly, the Old Testament, which still looks like the New Testament though.
Okay. Thank you, baby.
But so without like not having the actual conversation, of course not. But what the gist was that in prison back then they had departments where like the gay inmates were in one and the straight was in another. You weren't allowed porn, of course. The only thing you had was like catalogs, like lingerie stuff that you would look at. And the joke is that someone would be like, why are you looking at that bitch? I can do that so much better. Like, give me the attention. And then they would do, not voguing, but they would do like pose-off. So they would look in the catalogs and be like, boom, 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 and then just like, whack, okay, yes. Then it was taken out to the street, and the younger generation added music to it, martial arts, now that we know old way. So like, when you say ballroom, like there's so many different eras of like what ballroom is, and so many different clarifications of it. So, because a lot of people will be like, yeah, it started in the 80s. I'm like, no, the ballroom culture, which is why voguing culture is so big for us, because we're not just a dance style. We're not ballet dancers that do ballet and then we go home and it doesn't affect our life at all. Like, we are here because of the culture.
Right.
So, yes. And
Okay, you ate that. You ate that. Shall I leave?
no, girl, no. I'm like, so, okay, in your opinion, because this is the more, for me, like important question, like, what has ballroom meant for you? And also because to not like just what you said, like where ballroom came from and all that stuff, like femme queens and what is the term for us when we say trans women is like a huge platform of like who created ballroom, why it was created, like she said, Crystal Laveaux and all this stuff. So when I ask you as a person, like what has ballroom meant for you, this is the reason for ballroom. So like we all have reasons, but it started because of something, and some of our reasons are more simpler than others. So yeah.
So what has ballroom meant for me?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, that's a really big question. I think
1 to 2 working days to figure
1
it out.
to 2 working days. I sound like Beyonce in Pretty Hurts, where she's like, wow, I never expected that question. I think what ballroom means to me has changed over time. In some ways, and in some ways it hasn't. I think when I first joined ballroom, I was really lacking like deep, meaningful queer friendships. Specifically, because I grew up in a town in UK where like there wasn't. I mean, there were black and brown people, but like in the school that I was in, and the friendship group that I was in, I was always like the one of, like the only, well at the time, the only boy in the group, or the only black person in the group. So to go from feeling like such a minority, I don't like that word, but that's literally what I felt like, to go from feeling such a minority to seeing like a bunch of black fags and black girls having the time of their life, like I became addicted to that. I didn't give a fuck. Can I cuss? I'm cussing, I'm sorry. But like I didn't really care so much about the competition in the beginning. I didn't have that hunger. I was actually just looking for community. And I think I still love that part, don't get me wrong. Like I still am here for community, but at the time when you're so starved of that, that was everything for me. And then the meaning kind of changed. Because I was lucky enough to get to go to New York in 2022. And I got to compete there, and I also, more importantly, just got to see, and it was around the time I was sort of questioning my gender anyway, when I started my mental transition, and seeing so many trans women, specifically black trans women, young and old, because in London you see like the young girls in the club all the time, you see the young girls, you know, like, but you never really see older trans people. I don't know what it's like here, but in the UK, it feels like there's like a big segregation, not segregation, but like a bit like it's harder to find older trans women. But the beauty in New York and in the mecca of ballroom was that they're just everywhere, and specifically at balls, whether they're house mothers and icons or just a spectator. They were the majority, you know, and I think that's when the meaning of ballroom sort of changed to me, and that's when I realized, oh my god, this is my lineage, this is my history that I'm looking at as a trans woman in real life, you know, this is what like my people have left behind, because my history gets erased a lot as a black trans woman. Sorry, I'm not crying, I'm just really ill. But yeah, I think so the meaning keeps changing. Sometimes ballroom just means a place where I want to carry and be seen you know, and that's all it means to me. And I don't think about it. And other times it means something way more.
Right.
So, yeah, I mean, that's amazing. Everybody has the different reasons for being in ballroom.
Yeah.
Like you said, like your reason can definitely change. Also, when you're in ballroom, you learn more stuff. And you learn more stuff about yourself. And when ballroom is getting bigger and bigger, like all over the world, the reasons also definitely change because of that. Because the scene will not be the same. It will change a lot. But how do you feel about ballroom going into like main media, like good, bad? When we're like talking about that, and it's like also like earning money off of ballroom, people coming into ballroom that might not be the base group that it was created for. So like people coming into ballroom like myself that has a lot of privileges. I might need ballroom, but there is levels to the need of it. But like what in general, just what do you feel about ballroom going from being a very subculture, very small and directed, to now being like Ariana Grande trying to do voguing on MTV? Like for example, like
she vogues.
I mean, yeah, it's going, you know, like in that sense where it's like going into artistry, it's going into companies, it's going, you see H&M in their commercials, like all this stuff.
Yeah. It's a bittersweet one, isn't it? Because as someone so I'm a freelance artist in my day-to-day life, a movement artist and an actor, and I've been booked to do ballroom gigs for these sort of brands. You're like, I am the H&M girl, I'm sorry. But why shouldn't I be? You know, this is something that is my culture. So at the same time, like, I don't think it's a bad thing that ballroom is like the globalization of ballroom and it becoming mainstream and it becoming profitable. However, it is a double-edged sword in a way, and it's a little bit bittersweet because most times, I know I just said that I get those bookings. I'm not trying to make it sound like I get those bookings all the time. It's been like twice, and I've been here since 2018. And I'm also, like, we all have eyes, you know, like we all see the kind of girls that do get those kind of bookings usually. They don't really look like me. They don't really look like me. Meaning they're not a boy. They are a boy and they're usually not black, you know? So I think that's when it gets a bit like tricky, when other people come into ballroom and they decide to pick and choose who gets to represent the culture. It's never really the people that created the culture. And I think that's the awkward conversation that we're yet to have, you know? But also, this is, I don't know if it's more important, but it is important, I think. The upside of ballroom becoming mainstream and legendary, like it's got cancelled now, but legendary being a TV show, or Pose being on TV for like 5 seasons. There's the TV show with the House of McGlare, I can't remember, but like that for instance. House of Fire, yeah. My House and House of Fire. That's not very original, but yeah. So like all of these TV shows is gonna help introduce ballroom to a kid or a girl that needs it, you know? Because the thing about subcultures is if you don't know someone, you don't know how to find them. If I didn't walk into a random club night, that night, I might not be sitting here, you know? Because I didn't know anybody doing the gay dance back then. I didn't know a single person. So yeah, it's a two-way thing. I think it's good, it's bad, but whenever something gets bigger, I think it also needs to be protected, because the more visible something becomes, then the more protection it needs. And I don't know if we're doing everything to protect ballroom. And I don't know who in ballroom, like whose job is it more? Is it if you're a guest in ballroom, is it your job to protect it even more so? I don't know, I'm asking. Yeah.
So yeah, answer.
No. Yeah, answer me.
So yeah, we're calling everybody out right now. But I 100% agree with everything you said. Also, me being a person that was in ballroom, like when it kind of started in Europe, and then seeing how it evolved through all of these years, I personally could say that I saw how I would be booked for stuff, but other like black friends of mine wouldn't get booked in other countries. So I think it's, as a white person, I always say in my class, like, we're all guests. I don't care how horrible your life have been. Like, everybody's life can be horrible, but it's not based on you being white. You just had a horrible life. And if you're going to be in a space that was created for a specific group of people that have invited you into that, because this is the thing, like when ballroom started in Europe, we invited icons and legends from the US to come and teach us. And they came and taught us, which then means that they invited us to learn it. And by doing that, I'm just like, well, then I have to get back because they were nice enough to let me in. So I feel like, yeah, it's definitely up to the guests of the scene, like, because we cannot always expect the victims or the people being oppressed or anything to always be the one to raise their voice and push all of us to do it. But yes, very deep. But to something more lighthearted before we go into like, if people have some questions. If you could say one, because there's so many categories like in ballroom, could you say like, do you have one or two categories that you're like, bitch, I wish I was good at that. Like, if I was good at that, I would say this. Like,
I don't have a category that I wish I was good at.
you're just good at
No, kidding, no. It's like, what do you mean? No,
like my runway sickness. Outfits are on point.
face, body, no. Okay, what is a category that I wish I could walk, basically?
Or that you just love watching and you're like, I wish I could do that. Like, whatever it is, but you just feel like, I'm not gonna try. Like,
I am gonna walk a new category soon.
bizarre.
To be continued. I heard that, you fucking bitch. No, okay, to answer your question, I actually really, really love like old school videos of like when butch queens walk new way, but they walk new way in such a cunty way. Not like, no shade, but a little bit of shade. Not like the robotic shit that a lot of people do today, where it's like robotic shit,
yeah.
where it's like you're like dead in the face, and it's like, no. Back in the days, the fags used to be fags. Any category, you know? And I like, to me, I love that shit. That's like the gayest shit I've ever seen. It's gayer than voguing femme. But okay, but I'm never gonna walk that. So that's like, but yeah, I'm never gonna walk new way. Let's be real. I love watching Femme Queen Runway. I love like that. To me, it's like its own. You know how we call voguing a language? I think that Femme Queen Runway, or just European Runway. Sorry to the all Americans, but like I'm a girl. But like yeah, like European Runway. When you watch someone like Genovia. I want to be Genovia, basically.
Yes. No,
What about you?
I've walked both them like performance, but I just wish that I could. Like, a bitch is tall, so for me to do a dip, I'm like, I'm gonna fall all the way from here. But then this bitch, I think I saw him. Julia was here, and he's like the same height as me, and he's like, bam! I'm like, bitch, now I can't use my excuse.
Yeah.
Fuck, I was like, it's too far. So I just wish I could do that. I wish I could go harder. Because now I'm like, okay, let me try to do soft and cut. Not because I want to, I just don't know how to
Yeah.
So yeah.
I hate battling short girls.
Yeah.
I hate battling short
like,
girls.
I did. I'm like, no, you just sat down on your ass. Like, it was literally 2 decimeters from the floor, bitch.
They can do whatever they want.
When Naomi's jumping from the stage, I'm like, that's how I feel just doing a regular dip. But yeah, I wish I had that. But okay, so let's go on. Like, is there anybody that have any questions for Amani? It could be about the scene. It could be about her. What is your stance on Crocs? Like, is there anybody that have any
Depends on the
questions?
Crocs.
Well, what are you looking forward to the most of this night now? Our little Kiki Vogue nights that we're gonna have.
Oh, I don't know.
Don't fuck up.
Don't fuck up, I was screaming. No, I'm really looking forward to, because I don't really know that. I don't really know that many. I say that and Darlene walks in, lol. I was gonna say I don't really know that many people from your scene. But I don't know much about their scene actually.
Can I just ask also,
how are you as a judge?
You'll
Like,
find
to
out.
be an-
No kidding, no. Oh my gosh, that puts me on the spot. What am I like as a judge? I think I always lean towards wanting to have fun. I want to have fun and I want the, oh my Jesus Christ, my cup voice. I want to have fun and I want the people who are walking to have fun. Like, don't get me wrong, I'm a little bit of a nerd and a little bit of a snob when it comes to ballroom because I love this shit so much, but I'm also not like a killjoy, you know? So I think yeah. What am I expecting from the scene today? I heard that, well, I don't know if Coney is here to fact check this. I heard that you guys haven't had a function since December, so I'm expecting bitches to carry. That's what I'm expecting.
Yeah.
If nobody's walked since December, you better vogue.
I have one question for both of you, but actually to Amani. Like, do you have a message for the generation coming after you, or someone who's just finding their way in ballroom and in life, or another question, maybe that's better. Do you have a message now that you maybe needed when you just, started to get in ballroom, finding your way? Both, whatever you feel like asking.
I love that question.
So the question was, because I'm going to give this to Amani, does Amani have any words of encouragement for the new generation coming up? And do you have any words of encouragement that you would have needed when you started? That if someone would have told me this, my story would have been way easier or just helped you in general. So.
Someone told me this, I would have been so fab. I'm gonna answer both of the questions with one answer because I'm really lazy. But when I first started, because my generation of UK ballroom girls is kind of like the black generation. I don't know if you guys know these people, but Rhea, Alizé, me, Jugu, all of us kind of came around a time when the UK ballroom scene was really wide. Okay. But yeah, all of us kind of came at a time when the UK ballroom scene was really wide. So we're definitely the black generation, I would say. But with that said, because we were also young around the same age, and even though we're all now that we're older, we're all friends. But at the time, it was for me anyway, I think I spent 80% of my time just comparing myself to them. If they won a ball, why didn't I? If they were recruited for a house, why wasn't I? And I think a lot of people do that in the beginning of ballroom, where you just compare yourself to your girlfriends or to your fucking enemies, let's be real, And comparison is the thief of joy. We all have our own ballroom journey. And I wish, had I known at that time that I'm going to get to be invited to come to Budapest and I'm going to get to, compete with different countries and I would get to blossom into whatever I am now. If I had known at that time, I wouldn't be worried about what my next girlfriend is doing. Because that's for her and that's her journey. And if you're winning right now, hooray for you. If you're not, get in the studio and get her next time.